Good evening, darlings. I got three wonderful questions from Give Me the Hobbit. I'm so excited to answer them. So let's just get straight to it, shall we? So the first one is, what kind of wine do I drink? Oh, darling, you know just what to ask. So of course, my favorite is Dorwinian. I just absolutely love the flavor, and I actually sort of prefer the fortification of the wine, just a smidge. But it's been hard with Dale's economy and the war and everything. So I do drink also a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon. Of course, I will happily go in for Champagne. It's probably the only non-red that I'll drink as far as wine is, well, true wines are concerned. Of course, I'm happy to go in for sort of a mead or a melomel, especially during spring, summer, and fall. I find that they're just absolutely delightful for a summer evening, particularly for a lot of the traditional festivities that we have here in the Greenwood. The second question made me laugh a little bit, and I'm sure you understand the answer already, darling. But it was, does Legolas drink as much as I do? Now, darling, as much as I would love to say yes, of course, the answer is no. He does drink, and he does do quite a good job of it. I'm not saying he's by any means a lightweight, but he just sort of doesn't have the same enthusiasm, unless you sort of stoke his temper a bit, or challenge him in something that makes his pride feel injured, and then you can't stop the boy until he's passed out. Um, but you know, he gets that sort of mentality entirely from his mother, so we have to forgive it, and he is such a good boy the rest of the time, you know. Um, and the last question is quite interesting, actually, darling. What is Thorn Oakenshield's alcohol intake like? You know, darling, I've never really paid attention at the feasts. It's not as if the two of us ever spend any time alone or any sort of thing like that. Like I could count it or something. Um, so I suppose just next time that there's sort of a feast and he's there, I'll watch. I mean, I'll have someone watch how much he drinks and report back to you because, of course, darling, I wouldn't know anything about that. Um, but usually, by the time I'm starting to feel rather good, I've noticed that sometimes, you know, if I just happen to glance over, not like I'm looking for him or any sort of thing like that, but if I just sort of glance over at him, I have noticed that he's much more drunk than I am. So I would say perhaps sort of moderate. You know, we've never been in a drinking contest or anything like that. Although I know that I could drink him under the table and still barely be tipsy. So, you know, if Mr. Oakenshield would like to answer this, by all means, darling, please give me a reply. But until then, until he can speak for himself, we'll just have to sort of wait to find out. So I suppose that's a challenge to you, Mr. Thorn Oakenshield. How much can you drink, darling? We will find out. So thank you for joining me again this evening, darlings, and thank you, Give Me the Hobbit, for all of the wonderful comments that you've left me, and of course for this question. So good night, darling.